going on, everybody? Welcome back to PFF's All-Star Bowl Tour, presented by Prize Picks here in Las Vegas, Nevada for the 2022 Shrine Bowl. We're talking all of the updates, the practices that we've been seeing throughout the week, giving you the best players that we have seen this week at the Shrine Bowl. But, of course, it is also Championship Sunday in the NFL, which means we're going to be breaking down all the matchups, all the numbers, everything you need to know, how you want to bet it, how you want to root for it, whatever you're looking for. We got you here on this show over the next 45 minutes to an hour. I got on the desk with me Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, and Anthony Treash. Fellas, it is a super show. Not only are we getting to talk about the Shrine Bowl and the guys that we saw even just this morning at practice, but now we're talking about Championship Sunday in the NFL. How are we feeling today?
We're in Vegas, man. You got to do it big. You got to keep things grand.
No better place to watch championship games. Am I right?
Exactly. I think this is the most excited I've been for Championship Sunday, and I think ever, because these are such intriguing.
How many times have you watched the Bengals hype video? I'm pretty sure you walked into our hotel room this morning at 6:30 a.m. blaring the hype video.
I did. I sent it out to everybody as soon as I saw it, and that's when I knew the vibes were right in the perfect place for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Chiefs didn't even put out a hype video.
You're the Tiger too. There's a lot of things adding up for Cincinnati right now. It's an underdog story. It is us.
This is the kind of breakdowns that you're only going to get here on the show, but obviously we're going to get into the player matchups. We're going to talk about some Shrine Bowl players as well, but there's some hot action right now in the NFL, even beyond just this games, right? Yeah. Tom Brady is one of them. Is the man retiring? Is he not? What do we think? Where do we think we are with Brady?
There is just no way. I got to get out in front of this. There is no way Schefter misses this. There's just no way. There's no way. Adam Schefter report, former Michigan alum. There's just no way. You can't overshoot this. Now, the only way, in my opinion, that Schefter misses this is that if Tom Brady is so petty that
baby.
Because the retirement wasn't on his own, Twitter and his own terms,
right,
he's going to play an entire new NFL season just because Schefter jumped the gun or someone leaked or whatever. The problem is Tom Brady wanted to announce it on his own terms. It obviously got leaked, and he's frustrated, so he's communicating, not yet, so he can save this moment for his own social media. That's what it is. It's literally what it is. Now, does that mean Tom Brady could come back because he's so frustrated with how this happened? Absolutely. But I think ultimately he does retire. He's just upset, obviously, that it got leaked.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Two things here. One, Schefter would not tweet that out without a pretty darn good source inside there that he
had
would
a graphic
trust,
made. They knew.
And then two, I don't think that Tom Brady wanted it to be a distraction from the playoffs. That is not who he is. He does not need the spotlight. That's not the kind of guy he is. He, again, wants it to be on his own terms. So I think that's the biggest thing here is, yes, I think he plans on retiring, but never wanted it to come out at this point in time. Was going to be something that was after the season. And, again, going to be something on his own social media platform, whatever, and not Adam Schefter tweeting it the day before Championship Sunday.
He's going to print out the tweet and just put that in his locker room. That is his motive. Tom Brady is at the point where he needs to search for motivation so much. Everybody's calling him the GOAT that he's just hey, remember when they thought that I retired and then I came back and won a Super Bowl? That would be one of the most Tom Brady things of all time. Some other news that was kind of, I don't want to really say breaking, but a lot of people were talking about it, is the future of Jim Harbaugh, right? Former NFL coach, almost won a Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers. He's been with the Michigan Wolverines, and now we've heard his name in this coaching carousel over the last couple of weeks. We've heard maybe the Miami Dolphins were interested. The Las Vegas Raiders right here, I think, were interested in Harbaugh as well. Now we're hearing the Minnesota Vikings that he could be interviewing to be their head coach and might ultimately become their head coach. Do we think that this is more about Harbaugh wanting to find the right place in the NFL, or do we think that it's kind of a money grab almost to get the Michigan boosters to pay up a little bit after his contract was kind of cut in half last year?
I'll call it what it is. Harbaugh wants to win. And he can win in Minnesota.
Okay.
I think he can win in Minnesota. He's going to bring Vic Fangio with him, bring that defensive coordinator, and I think Minnesota has been this close, right? Kirk Cousins, top 10 graded passer, pretty much throughout his entire Minnesota Vikings tenure in his career. Justin Jefferson, a defense that does have talent. Mike Zimmer never capitalized on that. Was always one playoff win, never a deep postseason run. Harbaugh can do that. We saw that in San Francisco. He was considering Las Vegas, obviously with Derek Carr. Now considering Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. It's not like they have their wagon hitched to Kirk Cousins for the next 3 to 5 years, right?
Right.
There's a window with Kirk Cousins. You have to keep him this year, unless you trade him for whoever wants to grab him. There's a window with Kirk Cousins now where Harbaugh can come in and try and win deep in the postseason. If it doesn't work out, he's able to bring in his own guy and groom a quarterback. I think he wants to win, and Minnesota's the place.
I don't think he's going to be able to win right away in Minnesota. I mean, that roster needs some serious work. I mean, especially
who's the best team in the NFC if Aaron Rodgers retires? Who's the best team, or NFC North? Who's the best team?
I mean, Packers, so.
Still? With Rodgers retiring? Or leaving? You think the Packers are still better than the Vikings?
Well, winning the division is one thing, but actually being a competent team in the playoffs and being a dangerous team is another thing, right? And
I would agree with that.
Yeah, the secondary is just not there. They need a lot of work. I mean, Kirk Cousins accounts for what, like $45 million against the cap this year? No one's going to trade for him. I just think they need to completely rebuild that roster, and I think everybody knows it, right? And so I think they're in an interesting situation, but I do think that Harbaugh is on his way out. I think he wanted to go to the NFL, and it was just all about what team was going to pony up the money to get him, because he's going to cost them like serious coin.
I think that's the biggest thing, is more as the timing, not necessarily the opportunity, not the team of the Minnesota Vikings and where they're at right now. It's the fact that he goes from Michigan, where he just basically proved I couldn't make the playoff. Obviously, he goes to the playoff. Now, you could stay there and wait and try to win a national championship, but the odds are long at a program like Michigan compared to what you see it now in the SEC. Like that, you could stay there for decades and still not win one. It's difficult to win a national championship. So he's proven that he can do it at the collegiate level, done all he had to do at his alma mater. I think now getting back in the NFL, a lot of college coaches don't want to recruit. No one wants to do that. No one wants to have to deal with that grind that is the year-long recruiting process. Everyone wants to be in the NFL, whether it's the money, the work-life balance. So I do believe it's just the timing of it that Jim Harbaugh would want the NFL opportunity.
All right, let's switch our focus to those teams that are playing in a couple of hours in championship weekend. Let's take a look at the odds to win the Super Bowl from PFF simulations here. The Kansas City Chiefs, #1 on the list, 32% chance to win the Super Bowl going into Championship Sunday. Then it is the Rams and the 49ers, 27 and 23%. The Cincinnati Bengals all the way down there at 18. What do we think about these odds? Are the numbers a little too high, too low for any of these teams? Is anything standing out to you when you look at these odds from our simulations?
It's really obvious. It's really obvious that the Bengals are going to be dogs in any situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that they're obviously 7.5-point dogs against the Kansas City Chiefs on the road in Arrowhead. I think if the Rams or Niners win, and say the Bengals do win, they're going to be dogs against both those teams. I'd probably put the line at San Francisco -2 over Cincinnati, and that's where really these odds show up, right? They have an 18% chance to win because they're going to go into these games as a touchdown plus dog against Kansas City in Arrowhead, a tough game to win outright.
Right.
And then even going against the Rams or the San Francisco 49ers, you go against the Rams. People aren't talking about this enough. Rams playing in SoFi. Rams are going to be at home if they go to the Super Bowl. Back-to-back
years.
Back-to-back home teams in the Super Bowl. Rams go to the Super Bowl. They're going to be favored over the Bengals, probably by 3.5.
Sure.
So I do think that the Cincinnati Bengals, it's right to have them as the longest odds.
I think it's wild that the 49ers don't have the longest odds, purely from the quarterback position. Like you
Sure.
have two super elite quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, one top 10 quarterback in Matt Stafford, and then Jimmy G, who's well outside the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL, literally not winning games because of him, getting roasted on social media left and right over the past handful of weeks. To me, that's crazy that you would think that they could run through the Rams this weekend, and also either the Bengals or the Chiefs, and that they'd be favored against the Bengals, this implying that to me just doesn't add up.
Yeah, I mean, 3 of the 4 of these quarterbacks routinely make those kind of like holy shit throws like every single week.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't make those. Now they do.
Well,
win
he might on the other side of things, on the the not so good side.
Yeah, the opposite end of the spectrum. But yeah, I mean, Austin made a good point about Cincinnati being dogs. I mean, they already posted look-ahead lines, and I believe it was 2.5-point dogs. They would be against the 49ers and 3.5 against the Rams. So, I mean, this looks as expected. But yeah, I think the Rams, that's the team I'm kind of eyeing there. I think they're a dangerous team, and I think we're kind of sleeping on them a little bit. It's interesting, their whole roller coaster. Everybody kind of bought in a little bit too soon, very overhyped, and then now I think we're starting to underrate them. So that's the team I'm looking at here.
All right, we talked about the Bengals, obviously, and their odds to maybe win the Super Bowl, but they've got to get past the Kansas City Chiefs, which is no easy task. Yeah. So let's get into the game preview here. How do they do it? What part of this matchup are you guys looking forward to the most? What's going to be the biggest area for either the Bengals to have success, the Chiefs to have success? Austin, I'm going to start with you. What's something that you really want to bring to the table?
This entire game boils down to Zach Taylor versus Steve Spagnuolo, in my opinion, and honestly versus the clock and versus himself, and how he manages his timeouts and how he manages this game plan. Because it's going to be very easy for the Cincinnati Bengals to go into this game, sit on the football. I think Joe Mixon's rushing attempts prop is set at 15.5. He's trying to clear that number. He had 17 early down carries against the Tennessee Titans and averaged 2.7 yards per carry on those runs. You can't do that this week.
Yes.
You can't.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they beat the Chiefs in the regular season because they did it. They threw on 70% of early downs in the Week 16 and Week 17 matchups against the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs. In those 2 games, fun fact, Joe Burrow threw for over 950 yards and 8 touchdowns. And it was easily the best offense, the best they've looked all season long in those 2 games. Yeah. You have to turn it on against the Chiefs. It's a reason why the total is set at 54.5. The Bengals need to go into this game and throw, because you're going against Patrick Mahomes. You can't afford to get conservative. If Zach Taylor gets into a shell, the cold, or whatever it may be, it's over. Chiefs are winning by more than 7.5. But if he shows up, trust Joe Burrow, and they throw 40, 45 dropbacks, I think they can keep this one close.
Yeah. Mike, will they be able to do that against? Obviously, they did that earlier in the season, but it was at Paul Brown Stadium.
Yes.
Now they're going to Arrowhead. So what's the analysis here with the Chiefs defense and the Bengals offense?
Yeah, so the last matchup, obviously, Jamar Chase went wild in that game, over 200 yards.
Safe to say, yes.
Because these Chiefs defensive backs, how they kind of finesse around, I guess not finesse, the opposite of finesse, how they get around the fact that they are not these locked down corners is they press more than any team in the NFL. They are long, they are physical, and they slow down routes at the line of scrimmage. So, to me, the biggest thing is, can the pass rush of the Kansas City Chiefs get home before these Bengals wide receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, that present so many mismatch problems, get off press, get off this press coverage on the outside? To me, I think the Chiefs have to rethink their game plan because how good Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, how good those guys are at the line of scrimmage. Now, it's not to say they're elite, that they can all get off press coverage immediately, but if they do, you are toast in this matchup if you're the Chiefs defensive backs. They are not going to be able to recover against these guys, so I think they're going to have to come with a different game plan this time around because obviously what happened last time did not work.
Right.
No wide receiver in the NFL has more receiving yards against press coverage this year than Jamar Chase. I mean, if he's left on an island, he's going to win. And we saw that when they played, like you said, about a month ago. And even, too, if they go out with a different game plan and they want to double Jamar Chase, well, guess what? They got T. Higgins. They have Tyler Boyd. I mean, and I trust those guys to win their matchups against the Chiefs secondary. Now, this defense has been playing significantly better through the second half of the season, right? I mean, they tweaked some personnel, and they've been playing better, but we saw them toast the secondary before, and they can do it again. So I'm going to be interested to see what kind of game plan they really have for Jamar Chase. If they're going out there and they can really trust their guys to win one-on-one, that's a little bit of a bold strategy. But, yeah, I think either way, the Bengals have the advantage there.
And to hammer the Jamar Chase point home, too, because I think you really have to put an exclamation point next to his name in this matchup. The one-on-ones are big. In single coverage, not only does he have the most yards against press, he has the most yards against single coverage looks. You put this guy in a one-on-one situation, he's going to win. As a rookie.
Right.
The Chiefs can't afford to do that, right? Everyone's like, what are they going to do? Are they going to bracket him, all this stuff? Yes. Pretty much yes, because he can win in multiple ways. He can create separation. He can win at the catch point. He's a bully after the catch. You have to create your whole game. It's kind of like Devontae Adams with the Green Bay Packers, right? You have to do everything you can to slow down Jamar Chase. And unlike the Packers, the reason they're not playing this weekend is because they don't have a second option, right? The Bengals do. T. Higgins obviously there.
And so the thing that I keep going back to with Chase is Chase is a fantastic receiver. I think that he's going to be able to get his, but we remember how close that Kansas City Cincinnati game was the first time around. And the Bengals came out victorious. Chase had over 200 yards, like we said. Can we and it took all 200 of those for them to win. I mean, even if you expect a monster day from Jamar Chase, we're talking 120, 140, 150 yards receiving. Is that enough? Because he needed all 200 to beat them when they came to when they came to Cincinnati before. So I'm not sure. I obviously think this is a huge factor in this matchup. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to slow down Jamar Chase, but are they going to get enough? Because I do think it's going to take another Herculean performance even with the other guys. On the flip side, I wanted to mention this part of the matchup too. Jesse Bates, the safety for the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about what is the blueprint for guys like Josh Allen, like Patrick Mahomes, right? And we've seen that it's playing more of too high, right? Capping what they're able to do. Don't let them get these deep explosives with guys like Travis Kelce, with Tyreek Hill. When one of your two high safeties is Jesse Bates, that's pretty great. He's got the highest coverage grade for us here in the playoffs. And so, he has been absolutely fantastic. And normally it's like, okay, we'll put both of our safeties back and, it doesn't really matter. They're back there. They're allocating. They're getting to their spots. They're playing coverage well. But when it's Jesse Bates as one of those, I think that's the next factor in this matchup.
Yeah, the play he made against the Titans was one of the best plays made by a safety.
It's amazing.
The very first play of the game,
the
pick that he had from a single high look, that does not happen. And I think the Bengals are uniquely qualified, as we saw kind of in the second half of that first Chiefs game, where they didn't get enough credit for shutting down the Chiefs offense in that entire second half, of what they can do from a zone coverage perspective, limiting big plays, and that has been the blueprint for, obviously you're not going to stop the Chiefs offense. We really haven't even talked about it because it's just assumed they're going to put up the points,
right?
But at least slowing them down.
Yep.
And he's not on an island out there, right? He's not the lone man of the pack. They have Chidobe Awuzie, Mike Hilton, first team all trash talker Eli Apple. They had high key the best offseason of any team last year with all those free agent pickups, and they're performing well this year. So Jesse Bates definitely the leader of that pack, one of the best safeties in the game. But that secondary as a whole has been playing really well this year.
Chiefs favored by 7.5 in this game. It's in Kansas City, so the Bengals getting 7.5 in this one, and then the over/under 54.5. Austin, where are you going?
I think the point you made about, like, hey, they needed every yard from Jamar Chase to win that game, and it was a narrow one, is why they're 7.5-point dogs.
Yeah,
Like it's going to take a Herculean effort to win this game. Now, I think that's what we get. I don't think they win. I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs to win if you're betting the money line, but I do like the Bengals to cover at 7.5. I think in some spots you see it at 7. Sometimes it's all the way bet out to 7.5, depending on what hotel you go to here in Vegas. But I like that, and I also like the over. I think originally I was on the under. I felt like they would try and bottle things up, but honestly, this is going to be a fireworks show. Just like I kind of imagine a Chargers-Raiders late season, just maybe going into OT, 30 points aside.
I'm going Bengals money line. Straight up, I think the Bengals win this game. And I'm also going under. I think the Bengals defense has been playing extremely well this postseason. I think they have, like I said, uniquely qualified to at least limit this Chiefs offense. So I will go Bengals in the under.
Okay, I'm going to go Bengals in the points. I think they're going to need that 7.5. So I would love to see it in the money line. I think that'd be a great story with Joe Burrow and his team. But I got to give the points here. I'm not that confident. I'm not as confident as you, but I am going to go over. I think we're seeing fireworks in this game because it's just the Chiefs can blow the Bengals out, I think. But even with that being the case, you get Joe Burrow in a late game situation. I think he's putting up points. We're going to get garbage time points. I think this is going to hit over. Or if the Bengals win this game, we all know. Probably going to be a shootout. Yeah. Probably. I mean, I know that's going against Mike's bet there, but I mean, I think the odds say that with these two quarterbacks, we're probably going to get sparks to fly here. So I'm going to get the Bengals with the points, and then I'll take the over. Treash, what are you doing this game?
Yeah, before the postseason, put some juice on the Bengals to come out as the AFC champions. So I'm going to stay away from the money line. I already got that in there at 7-1. But I'm going to take the points here and the over. I think this is going to be an exciting game. I think the Bengals are going to keep this close. And, I mean, like I said, I think they're going to end up winning this one.
All right, so we're in Las Vegas. Austin talked about, going to different sports books, shopping around a little bit, finding out what the best player props are here in Vegas. But we've got some great player props over at Prize Picks as well. So we've been doing this every single show, and here's a third one where we are going to take the over-unders for some of these players that are playing in the game this weekend. We're going to tell you exactly what we think, and then if you like it, if you like the analysis, or maybe if you think we're crazy and you want to go to the other side, you can go to Prize Picks yourself, throw some money down on the line, get you some cash this NFL weekend. So first one, we're going to start with that Bengals game. It's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow over under 280.5 passing yards. That is the prop bet there. Austin, let's start with you.
I'm betting Bengals plus 7.5. I'm betting the over on the game, and I'm betting the over 280.5.
280 so much,
I think
man.
He clears it. I think he clears it. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at this game. It is us. The hype video has me crazy, okay? I think Joe Burrow does go into this one, clears the 280.5 in an effort to keep this close in what's going to be a scoring barrage. Like, as good as these defenses are, there is going to be a lot of points, a lot of passing yards, and Joe Burrow, I think, clears 280.5.
I am going over as well. I go back to last week where it might have been a blessing in disguise that Joe Burrow's headset goes out. He has to call his own plays and dialing up. And he wouldn't say exactly which ones they were, but he said they were all successful when he was calling them. I think him getting in Zach Taylor's ear basically and being like, I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of when I have the ball is going to lead to a pass-first attack this week, meaning over 280.
Treash?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow, I mean, have we seen some of the photos coming out when he's getting on the plane? I mean, the dude's dressed
the puffy jackets, the gold chains, the shades.
Yeah, I mean, no one's feeling himself more than Joe Burrow. I think he clears this number, man. I think he does. I think he's going north of 280. I like it.
I think he does, too. I was very curious if we were going to have anybody go over or under on this one. It's a high number, but I'm going over as well. So we're all four on the over here. Deebo Samuel. So we're talking about the Niners-Rams game here for this one. Deebo Samuel, not receiving yards, rushing yards. 36.5 rushing yards for the very versatile Deebo Samuel. Mike, I'll start with you.
I'm going over 36.5. It is playoff time. It is leave it all on the field. No worry about too many touches for a guy at this point in time. You can't give this guy the ball too many times in this game. He is your best running back. He is your best wide receiver. If he doesn't touch the ball at least 20 times, I think you're doing it wrong as a 49ers offense. So that would mean a lot of carries over 36.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm going over on this one, too, for all the reasons Mike outlined.
I'm going under. PFF.com has this as a value, under 36.5 rushing yards. It's going to be an attempts game, right? And I do think that you have to leave on the field. I just don't think they're going to be running the ball a ton. I think Stafford and the Rams get out to an early lead, force them to throw more. And now Deebo Samuel could go over 100 receiving, but I don't think he ultimately gets the 36.5 rushing.
Does the cheating pop pass still count as run?
That's a pass. That's a pass.
Okay, so they're going with the pass on that one?
Exactly.
I'm going under. I'll stick with you. I'll go under. We'll split. We'll go 2 We'll go 2 and 2 here. Okay, Patrick Mahomes over under 2.5 passing touchdowns. So not rushing. Obviously, he is a weapon to rush when they get into the red zone, when they get close there. But 2.5 passing touchdowns. Treash, starting with you.
Yeah, I mean, I took the over, and like I said yesterday, I don't believe in hedging because I just want the dubs, and I'm going over on this one because if the over's gonna hit, Mahomes is gonna throw.
He's saying nobody's more confident than Joe Burrow. I think that Treash might actually be more confident than Joe Burrow somehow. We need to get you the puffy jacket. The second we get off set, you need to put on the sunglasses.
We need a photographer for like the PFF HQ again before they walk in.
It's just you,
Dude,
you walking up the stairs, briefcase.
I'd probably be the best dressed if we did that.
Oh my goodness! I mean, people who are commenting on the live show can probably remember a lot of the fits that you've had for the college football show. So they can either agree with you.
I got a lot of compliments down the stretch
From your mom.
No, it's actually from your mom.
Wow. Okay. All right. Getting off the rails here, Austin. We going over?
I think I'm going over. Right now, you can see this if it's not priced at Prize Picks. It's in that plus 150, plus 115, which if you bet over 2.5 passing touchdowns on other books throughout the year, that is a very low price. And that's because Patrick Mahomes consistently clears this number. It's always low. I like the over 2.5.
I'm leaning under, obviously, because I picked the under in the game. I think it's going to be a tight defensive sort of first matchup, more so than, like I said, the first time around. So under for the 2.5 touchdown passes.
I'll say under as well. I mean, like, I think there's a chance that he could obviously finish with 3, maybe 4 touchdowns, but I think some of them could be rushing, right? Wow. I mean, if you get one rushing touchdown for Patrick Mahomes when they're in the red area, you basically all of a sudden feel really good about him probably not clearing that number. So I'll go 2. I'll say that he throws for 2 touchdowns. So head on over to Prize Picks. You guys can see these prop bets as well, and you can bet them there. If you use the promo code PFF when you sign up, you're going to get yourself a free PFF subscription. That's going to have you covered for draft season, for fantasy football season, for the betting tools that Austin mentioned once you get into the season. So head on over to Prize Picks, and you'll be able to see the link if you are watching this in the YouTube video. You can see it right below in the description. Let's move on to the 49ers and Rams game. Austin, I'm going to start with you here again. What's the big matchup here? There's so many different talking points. I know it's Shanahan, McVay, what Donald's going to do, what Ramsey's going to do, how can Jimmy hold up, where is Deebo Samuel going to line up? Where are your eyes going for this matchup?
I'm going to the old dog, the guy that they went all in for. Pushed their chips in. Von Miller, traded for him. He has the highest PFF pass rush win rate of any defender in the postseason, and should have a good matchup against Tom Compton. He does kind of split sides with the Los Angeles Rams playing on both sides of the ball, or both sides of the line of scrimmage. But I do think that going against Trent Williams is going to be difficult. Tom Compton, I think, Trent Williams is coming off an injury. Tom Compton has not easily pass protected this season. I think there's an opportunity here for him to get after Jimmy G. I think Von Miller will be a difference maker in the postseason. Yeah, that last week's game against Rashawn Gary, Compton was overmatched as can be. They had to give him help every single time or else he was going to get beaten. I think Von Miller, he's not the Von prime 2015 Super Bowl run Von, but he can be for a game. He can show up, and especially against a guy like Tom Compton, I expect him to be on that side. Snap after snap after snap, because you're just wasting them if you're throwing up against Trent Williams.
Treash, what's your matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I like Aaron Donald. I mean, I think he probably should be Defensive Player of the Year over T.J. Watt. I mean, he's the highest graded defender in PFF's grading base for this season again. But, you look at what he did against San Francisco earlier this year. I mean, those were some of his lowest graded games of the season. Actually has a 62.0 pass rush grade against the Niners. Everyone else, 93.0. Now, I don't think it's so much that he was overmatched. I think this offense does a really good job of scheming away from pressure. But I think this time around, Aaron Donald's going to be Aaron Donald, right? He's going to make that same routine impact, and then possibly free up some pressures there for Von Miller, help out too. And I think we're kind of underrating Von Miller's impact too, because he may not be the prime Von, but I saw little glimpses of prime Von. I'm sorry, Trev, against Tampa Bay last week. I mean, he did the same type of stuff you'd normally do at Denver, and just his pass rush plan. I mean, the guy is just a savant when it comes to that. Yeah. Exactly. So I think these guys are going to feast, even though the 49ers do a really good job of scheming away from pressure.
Talking about pass rush on the other side of things and really bringing it around to the quarterbacks with Matthew Stafford, I've mentioned it on these shows that we've done, and something that's really impressive to me is that when Stafford gets blitzed, he has answers, right? We look at some of the I'll just say boneheaded turnovers that we've seen from Stafford over the last 6-7 weeks. Some turnovers that his offense is in their own side of the field, right? And he's giving the ball to the other team, which is just the biggest no-no you can have as a quarterback. And, we look at a lot of those things and go, okay, then this guy gets rattled, right? Let's throw the kitchen sink at him. He'll cough the ball up, and we'll be able to get it and capitalize. But that's not the case. Stafford, when blitzed, got the 4th highest PFF grade and the #1 EPA per play when passing when he is blitzed. And so, the 49ers, I think they like their guys up front. I think they're comfortable with that. And as we saw last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, being that blitz-heavy defensive coordinator that he normally is, came back to bite him, especially on that very last play that kind of ended and sealed the game for the Rams. And so that is something that I knew was going to be a big impact stat for last week's game. It still can be this week, but it all depends on how the 49ers are going to play it. I think they're going to play that statistic a little bit better than Tampa did.
Yeah, they have not really been blitzing down the stretch here because they know what that front four, when Nick Bosa is fully healthy with the emergence of Arden Key, those guys can get after it. Really did not blitz against the Green Bay Packers, so I fully anticipate them not to do that, even though they do like those double A-gap looks from their linebackers. More often than not, though, they're dropping those guys out in coverage because they're athletic to do so. So I think with that in mind, the biggest matchup to me is going to be Nick Bosa versus Andrew Whitworth, who's back healthy this week. Now, Joseph Noteboom played well last week, but against Nick Bosa, little different animal. You need Andrew Whitworth out there. If he's healthy, I think the Rams have a good chance of still winning that matchup. If he's not, if he's kind of still nursing injury, 49ers front four might be the game changer.
Yeah, and then Trent Williams on the other side, right? I mean, like he was PFF's highest graded player, and we mentioned Von Miller, Aaron Donald, things like that. I mean, the 49ers or the Rams got really creative with Aaron Donald, especially with the Bucs missing Tristan Wirfs last week, and they would put Aaron Donald at the 5 technique right in front of where their backup Josh Wells was. That kind of a matchup, the Rams pass rush going up against Trent Williams. I mean, that's got to be huge as well, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't even, like I said, I wouldn't even put Von Miller on that side. Like, I wouldn't even waste Von Miller with that matchup. Put Leonard Floyd over there. Let him try to go one-on-one with Trent Williams. Basically, call that a wash.
Floyd looks at the depth chart all right, sick.
Exactly, and get Donald and Von Miller the favorable matchups, because that's kind of been the underlying factor. Tresh touched on it, that why Kyle Shanahan has owned the Rams of late and why they keep, was it 6 straight now wins they have over the 49ers? Because they're able to neutralize Aaron Donald, because they've been so good at scheming around him and not letting him take over in impact games.
Rams favored by 3.5 in this matchup. Over-under is 46. Austin, where are we starting with this?
I like San Francisco plus 3.5. I do think that getting the hook on the 3 is an important piece of this. I'm pretty much saying I think that this game is decided within 3. I think the San Francisco 49ers do cover the 3.5. Maybe the Rams inch out the dub by a 3-point win, but I do think San Francisco, they've had them dialed up. And the stat that Tresh mentioned, 62.0 PFF pass rushing grade for Aaron Donald versus the 49ers this season, 92 everywhere else. They do a good job of limiting their best players. I don't think they're going to blitz Stafford a ton. That's been another big reason why they've been limiting him as well. San Francisco 49ers have the Rams number, and again, they cover this thing. And I do think the under is in play. There's not going to be a lot of big plays. DeMeco Ryans' 8th-ranked defense and EPA per play allowed this year on the San Francisco 49ers front. Jimmy G's not going to score a ton. I don't think the Rams score a ton. I think the under goes under 46.
I like the Rams to cover 3.5, and now last week's games, if those are any indication, it's probably going to be a 3-point win by the 49ers in the last play of the game. That's just how it went all last week. But no, I do think that the Rams in this one, the biggest thing comes out of the quarterback position. You have Matt Stafford, who has been playing extremely well down the stretch of late, versus Jimmy Garoppolo, who, despite winning 2 games here in the playoffs, has played like the worst quarterback in the playoffs so far. So that to me is just the biggest thing. I do not foresee Jimmy G all of a sudden rising to the occasion, because he never has.
Kyle Shanahan has won the last 6 matchup against Sean McVay, right? 6-0 in their last 6. And since we are in Las Vegas, I'll give it a little bit of a roulette theme, right? When you're spinning the ball, when you see 6 red spaces in a row, you got to think to yourself,
You're due.
It's got to be black, right? It's got to be black. Well, as someone who lost money on that very strategy last night, let me tell you, I'm taking Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm taking the points there.
Betting on red again.
I actually think, I think that it's going to land on red again. 49ers red at that to kind of tie it all up right there. I also think that this one goes over on the 46 points. I think that that's low.
That strategy would send our friend Eric Eager to full tilt. I mean, he would not be happy to hear that. I get the, Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay argument. The proof is in the pudding. I think that changes. I like the Rams. I'm with Mike here. I like the Rams to cover that 3.5, and I like the over. I think we're going to get some exciting football today. But yeah, it goes back to the quarterback position. Matthew Stafford can make those high-level throws. Jimmy G, I like Jimmy G. I think he's wrongfully dogged on more than he should be. But I think he's going to come out top.
Jeff Garcia over here.
Not that bad. Not that bad. He's objectively not an elite quarterback. He is a good quarterback. but he's not a difference maker, right? He's in that Kirk Cousins, type of mid-tier.
You don't have to tell us.
All right, we are at the Shrine Bowl. We are in Las Vegas. We're going to give you guys some of the highlights that we have seen over the last couple of days with the guys at practice. But before we get to that, got to talk to you guys about something special that Western and Southern is doing, and that is potentially giving you the ultimate game day feast. They are partnering up with PFF's very own Chris Collinsworth to make this happen. And the way you do it, you just ask different kinds of questions. You can ask Chris Collinsworth questions about his old playing days, maybe some behind-the-scenes stories with Al on Sunday nights. And then when it comes to Western and Southern, you can ask them all sorts of financial questions, whether you're buying a house or whether you're starting a family, whether you just want to see your money grow in the best way possible. You can ask either question, and any question that you ask them gets you a ticket that could potentially earn you a catered event for the big game that happens 2 weeks from now. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say about it.
We could technically say it.
I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I got to be a little strategic here about it. So you'll win a full catered event for football's biggest game in a couple of weeks by asking questions over at westernsouthern.com/askchris. Ask any types of questions, westernsouthern.com/askchris. All the questions are going to be answered either on Chris Collinsworth's podcast if they pertain to Chris, or on Western and Southern's Instagram if they're more financial questions. But the way that it works is if you ask a question, if they end up picking your question as the winner, they'll get in contact with you. $2,500 is what they're willing to go up to give you a catered event for a local restaurant. They'll partner with you. You'll be able to get it catered to a place that you want and that you choose, and it'll be a great time. Go check out westernsouthern.com for help on all your financial needs. And remember that with Western Southern, you can rest assured on game day. Let's get into some of these Shrine Bowl prospects that are the top takeaways. I think we spoke a little bit on the live show yesterday. We gave you guys some names to know. Austin, I'll start with you. Who was a name that you were watching either this morning at practices or yesterday that you really want to give a shout out to or a takeaway?
Yeah, so we're officially through 2 practices. I've had opportunities to look at the All-22 practice film as well. And I actually sat down before the practices with Washington center Luke Wattenberg and came away really impressed in the interview. And then through 2 days, I thought he's looked really impressive in the one-on-ones. He's also a unique build for the center position, 6'4", 293 with 34 and 3/8-inch arms. You oftentimes see centers or interior offensive linemen have 31, 32-inch arms. He's got some longer arms, and he uses them well. I think he's played some guard this week and some center, has looked good in the one-on-ones. I think Wattenberg has been a riser for me in this week. Now, it's important. 2 practices, 1 interview. We got a lot of snaps played. I think he's played over 3,000 snaps in his career at Washington. Has never graded all that well. So really, this is an opportunity to go back and watch the tape, right? Go back and watch the tape, see why he's not grading well, see where he is in the run game. You don't really get a lot of opportunities for that at the East-West Shrine Bowl. So definitely a check in the let's go back and watch a little more Wattenberg.
Yeah, Wattenberg got 5 years starting.
5 years.
That is
400 snaps as a true freshman and just continue to grow.
That's pretty crazy. Mike, who's your guy?
The guy who stood out to me, and he stood out since the rosters got announced, is Matthew Butler, the defensive tackle from Tennessee. Just going over the rosters, I was just like, how did this guy, not get the Senior Bowl sort of call up, right? Because he goes to a program like Tennessee, grades out really well his past season, 76.7 PFF grade, has the sort of measurables you want for a defensive tackle, 6'3", 299 pounds, 33 and 1/8-inch arms, like prototypical sort of traits to play kind of a versatile defensive tackle at the NFL level. And you've seen it from day one of the practices. Like, he has just been the best defensive lineman there quite comfortably. I don't think he's gotten blocked cleanly in any of the one-on-one pass rushing reps yet. So, yeah, Matthew Butler, this guy's probably a mid-round defensive tackle that is just going to be a rotational piece that you can rely on in the running game. As a pass rusher, he has that kind of all-around skill set that, like I said, probably is going to go somewhat high in the draft.
Tresh, what about you?
Yeah, I think the most interesting player here, Kellen Diesch, Arizona State offensive tackle. Transferred in, highly regarded recruit for Texas A&M back in, I think, the 2020 offseason. Started and performed very, very well. 81.3 PFF grade in year 1 with Arizona State, 87.2 this past season. The biggest takeaway, though, this past week, while performing well, have been the measurements. I can't remember if it was Austin or Mike, but, looking at him, you're not even sure if he can reach the bottom of his pocket. I mean, he has some small arms, considering his size. Only at 32.5 inches, but, standing there around 6'7", 299 pounds. He's pretty slim there, too, but he's performing well. But I think he's just a very intriguing prospect, right? I think it's kind of one to be a little bit cautious of, but he has production, and he's not faltering.
I will say, too, like, the frame obviously stands out with Diesch, right? You don't see 6'7" offensive tackles have 32.5-inch arms. Like, that's just not how it works, right? Yeah. You normally see them have longer arms. When you see him out there, there's obviously a unique look, right? But he has looked really good. Like in the one-on-ones, he's been awesome.
He can move.
He was going into the week the highest ranked player on PFF's draft board for a reason other than his arms, right? So I think a lot of people are focusing obviously on the build, but he's played well this week. I will definitely emphasize that.
Mike, who's another offensive lineman? You and I were talking about another guy actually before the show.
Yeah, the offensive line class here is probably the best sort of singular position group of anyone at the Shrine Bowl. And the guy that's really stood out that I didn't even have a take on coming in this week is UConn's Ryan Vandermark. Guy who obviously UConn didn't have a 2020 season, gets canceled. He comes back this year in 2021, his third year as a starter, and all of a sudden you see a natural career grade progression from him, goes from a 63.5 to a 68.1, has that season canceled, then a 58.1 this past season. Did not play well, some balance issues on tape, but I don't think the development's there in the UConn staff. I don't think he was getting the best coaching, not to kind of roast him, but the record speaks for itself, and this is a guy that you just watch him move at 6'6", 302 pounds with 35.5-inch arms and big hands, 10 3/8-inch hands, prototypical sort of size, and then he moves so smoothly in his pass sets and the way he can react to rushers that it's that's so much of what the offensive tackle position is just having a physical skill set capable of pass protecting these athletes at the NFL level, because there's not many, good Lord only made so many guys that size with that sort of arm length to tick those boxes to pass protect at the NFL level. Ryan Vandermark is one of them. Obviously a developmental project, but just seeing the way he moves across the football field is very impressive.
He was my most impressive offensive lineman at yesterday's practice when we were looking at the one-on-ones. I mean, dudes of all shapes and sizes, speed guys he was handling, more power guys he was handling. So I thought that he was fantastic, very in control the whole time. And so, this is a guy who really, this event might help a lot, get some extra eyes on his 100%. Tape and just get guys to bet on him a little bit more. I wanted to highlight Jarrett Stearns because Jarrett Stearns, wide receiver from Western Kentucky, had monster production this past season, led the entire country in yards after the catch with Bailey Zappi and that incredible offense that the Hilltoppers had there. Had an over 90 PFF grade, so he was just incredible. Shows up, 5'7", 183 pounds. You go, man, okay, he's a little wide receiver, but man, I talked to him in the media portion, and I asked him something that he really wanted to show this week, and he said to me, contested catches. And I'm like, okay, a 5'7" slot guy wanting to prove contested catches, and what did he go out and do in day one? He had a contested catch that was a corner route to the end zone at the front pylon, and he just went up against another corner, and he just straight up wanted it more than he did. And today, I thought we also saw what we believe to be his bread and butter, which is a lot of easy separation stuff in the slot. So he is already, I think, really proving that he is exactly what you're seeing on tape, that high grade. This is a player that I think NFL teams are going to like in the mid-rounds. Yeah,
for the wide receiver position, it's kind of like basketball where they've gone away from caring about height. They've gone to wingspan as the actual measure of how much influence you have, obviously in basketball, over what you can do defensively, what you can do as a rim protector, what you can do offensively in terms of getting to the hoop. At wide receiver, it's how many catches can you make outside your frame. So he's only 5'7", but has a 6 foot and 5/8-inch wingspan, which is large for a guy that size. So he has long arms, is built well, broad shoulders, to where he can actually make plays that aren't necessarily have to be perfectly accurate to throw to him. And that's big for a slot receiver, because those small guys that look great in terms of route running ability but can't make any plays outside of this small box, those are the guys that you can't win with at the NFL level.
Working with Eric Eager, data scientist here at PFF, and we're looking at some of the predictive measurements or predictive grades going from college to the NFL. And for wide receivers, one of the highest correlations to success in the NFL is wingspan and arm length. And that does not get talked about enough in these, where with offensive tackles, it's like, are they 33-inch arms or 34? Everyone focuses on hand size for quarterbacks, but arm length, wingspan for receivers is massive, and that's a big note on obviously Stearns.
We got a little breaking news here on the table. Josh McDaniels, Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow, we're in Las Vegas.
So we've got Josh McDaniels right here. This is perfect, right? I mean, they probably waited till we were on the live show. They wanted us to be able to break it so the people could get our thoughts. I'm sure that's what they were doing the whole time. So immediate thoughts. What do we think, Josh McDaniels? We've heard this before, right? That he was going to be the head coach somewhere else.
No way.
It's been a long time since then. I think that it's a much safer bet to think that this is the real deal. But Austin, you are a Raiders follower.
Yeah.
What do you think about this one?
Yeah, from Oakland, big Raiders fan growing up, had season tickets with my dad. Josh McDaniels, I do think the allure for Mark Davis is that he can come in and really take control. And that's the type of coach he wants, right? He wants to give Josh McDaniels a ton of control over this roster and what they're going to do, the coaching staff and all that stuff. And from what I've heard, there was smoke around this McDaniel stuff, right? And he was leaning that direction. Now official, He's apparently building a super staff. There might be a staff that he can bring over. There's some names from this former Patriots organization that they might be able to get with Josh McDaniels that I think will make a massive difference for this Raiders team. And honestly, this is really good news for Derek Carr. I think they're going to commit to Derek Carr.
Yes.
McDaniels should put him in a better position.
Yes.
This roster is still bad. They have not drafted well in 10 years. There's a lot that needs to change.
Yeah.
But I think Josh McDaniels is a win.
I will say this. He must have given, my immediate reaction is he must have backed up the Brinks truck in terms of contract and backed up sort of the control that he is giving to
exactly
Josh McDaniels.
Probably.
Objectively, just from an outsider opinion, and sorry to hate on him here, but this was the worst job opening in my eyes in the entire NFL this offseason. Because you are in a division with Patrick Mahomes and now Justin Herbert, possibly Aaron Rodgers. There's just not a path to success.
Awful.
Exactly. Not a path to success.
I didn't even think
There's
of that.
such a difficult path to win that he had to basically, like I said, he had to get this control or sort of this trust from Mark Davis to say, hey, we can go through some lean years and I'm not going to cut ties with you because it's probably going to be some lean years. It's just going to be an uphill climb to consistently be able to make the playoffs in Las Vegas with the division they're in.
Giving a guy a mega contract just off of giving a guy a mega contract that didn't work out. Not always the best business strategy, but you're right. You're right. That's probably what they had to do because when you paint that picture, especially with quarterbacks like that, even for Derek Carr's biggest defenders, guy that liked Derek Carr the most, that's rough. That's really rough.
Yeah, I think this is undoubtedly the best hire of the offseason. Right?
You think?
I do.
Wow.
I think this is great, like you said, great for Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr's a very good quarterback. I think that he's an underrated player. And you just look at what Josh McDaniels has done. I mean, he's a guy that will play to the quarterback's strengths, right? He's going to build this offense to his strengths, and I think we're going to see a type of offense maybe that we saw with Mac Jones this past year that was one of the more successful ones in the NFL. So I love this. I think this is going to be great, but the roster needs a complete overhaul.
Yeah,
specifically
they need a lot of
on
help.
the defensive side of the ball because those cornerbacks, while they exceeded expectations this year, a lot of them are free agents, and those guys were built to play Gus Bradley's scheme, that single high, cover three, scheme right there. So they're going to have to do complete work on that defense and get Derek Carr some more pass-catching weapons. But I love this for Las Vegas. This is a big hire.
All right, so we're going to break out the PFF betting tools and give you some of our favorite over-unders that go beyond what we talked about in the prize pick segment. But before we get to that, got to talk to you guys about Pristine Auction. This is your go-to place for signed sports memorabilia. Heck, if you see a signed Josh McDaniels thing on the website there, you might be able to get it. Now it's vintage. Now it's vintage Patriot stuff. So head on over to Pristine Auction and check it out. Right, that's great value. The best part about it is all of these items start at $1 bids, so you can get yourself some real steals by finding whatever kind of player, team, or whatever that you are looking for. If you sign up and you use the promo code PFF, you're going to get yourself $10 off whatever the first auction is that you win, not just the first one that you bid on. It'll be able to stay around until you win one, and you'll get $10 off if you use that promo code PFF. Check out the best place for signed sports memorabilia over at pristineauction.com. Let's take a look at
signed McDaniels Colts polo would be
that'd be hot.
I'm getting online after this.
The second we get off this, it's literally just going to be me and you bidding against each other.
You guys are watching the
this
championship
merch.
games. I'm on Pristine Auction making plays.
Yeah, sorry. We are not the same. Let's talk about some of the PFF value plays for the over-unders here. Now, this is for we're going to give you guys a preview of what we have for just the Bengals and Chiefs game. There are plenty of other prop bets and over-unders that you can see if you go over to PFF.com, check out the betting tools that we have over there. But we've got Patrick Mahomes, we've got the over-under passing touchdowns at 2.5. We've got Travis Kelce over-under 6.5 receptions. The same over-under of receptions for Tyreek Hill. Joe Mixon, we've got 15.5 carries. Jamar Chase over-under 86.5 receiving yards. I think from the discussion we have, he's going to need a hell of a lot more than that. T. Higgins over under 5.5 receptions, and we all like the over. The PFF betting tools all likes the over on those. Which ones do you guys like the most? Which ones do you have the most confidence in when it comes to hitting those overs? From the
I touched on this a little bit earlier about Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns. I think that was the same line that we had for prize picks. But it's plus 115 on DraftKings and FanDuel if you're going to bet it there. I'm sure you can find other books that even have it further, plus 120, plus 125. You are getting plus money to bet on Patrick Mahomes to have a day. And if there's anything I want to do in this game after I get off pristine auction, it's watch Patrick Mahomes throw for 3 touchdowns and make some money off of it. So I do think that the over 2.5 passing touchdowns is a huge win. But I will emphasize on the betting tools too. Go to PFF.com. You look at the best bets tool. All of these will show that they have edges on them. And for the other game, there's over 20 bets with PFF values on. So if you're looking to get some skin in the game, I definitely think it's a good tool to research or visit before the 12 o'clock slate on the West Coast.
Mike, what's the over value you like the most out of that list?
I like T. Higgins, over 5.5 receptions.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about Jamar Chase going for 200 last time and how that barely snuck him the win. I think the Chiefs are going to say, hey, we cannot go one-on-one with Jamar Chase. We know that. So they're going to put whatever help they can going Jamar Chase's way. But they also can't guard T. Higgins. Like, he is a fantastic number 2, over 1,000 yards this past season. Insane wingspan. We talk about wingspans. That dude's built like a pterodactyl. Catching anything in his wingspan, 5.5 receptions. I think it's an easy over.
Thank you for the visual on the pterodactyl there. We didn't really. Okay, that was even better. So that was good. Somebody, please clip that. Stone, please clip that behind the scenes. Tresh, what do you like the most out of these bets?
I love Tyreek Hill over 6.5 receptions more than Mike Renner loves playing video poker. I think he's going to clear this number easily. I mean, he's turned into a possession receiver for the Chiefs. I think he hits that number.
I like Travis Kelce 6.5. I don't know if I like it more than Mike likes video poker. I mean, the guy was putting
Vegas
in
loves
work.
that Mike loves video poker. I'll say that.
That's very, very true. So I like Travis Kelce. I like the over there 6.5 receptions. I feel like this is just going to be a feed Travis Kelce kind of game. I think the Bengals are going to play a lot of that too high stuff, and I think there's going to be things in the intermediate and even more shallow stuff where they can dump it off to Travis Kelce and try to make a lot of things happen after the catch for him. So I like all those. As Austin mentioned, you can check out a ton of PFF value prop bets that we have over at PFF.com. And then when you see all those, head on over to Underdog Fantasy. They are the place to go to really spice up the action for the playoffs. They have all of their over-unders as well. And if you check it out right now, they're running a deal for you. The over-under on receiving yards for Jamar Chase is 1 yard. So it's free money, people. Go over to Underdog Fantasy, sign up, be able to put some cash down on that bet, and then you can parlay it with a couple of other bets, really multiply what you will be able to win. If you do so and you don't have an Underdog Fantasy subscription, use the promo code PFF, and if you do, you are going to get a free PFF subscription. So boom, it's just you're winning money over at Underdog. We're helping you win money going to Underdog.
Can't miss right
you
now.
get the free subscription. You can't miss with this deal right now. So if you are watching this on YouTube, check out the description below. We'll be able to have the link for you so they can send you right over to Underdog Fantasy. You can win yourself some cash. Any final thoughts? Shrine Bowl thoughts? Anybody we didn't mention? Some overall game thoughts? I know, Tresh, this is probably the longest period of time that you have had today without watching the Bengals hype video. So I know that you're itching to get off the desk. But any final thoughts from you guys?
I'll highlight this, and I think it's a big shout out to Eric Galco, the director of the Shrine Bowl here. Vegas has been a phenomenal host. Right?
Yes.
This city has been fantastic
Truly.
for an All-Star Bowl. And lining it up with the AFC and NFC championships, getting this opportunity to go out in Vegas and watch these games, I think it's going to be a treat.
Yep.
Dude, I'm so excited to go to the sports book, grind some all 22 from the Shrine Bowl while watching these games.
You're going to be in heaven.
Let's go. Come on.
You're going to be in heaven. Mike, anything?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better in my job as draft analyst than what's going on right now with draft prospects literally on the football field playing, as well as championship weekend. This is it.
We will be back tomorrow for another episode, another show on the PFF All-Star Bowl Tour. We'll talk, of course, a little bit about the results of the games that are coming up, and we'll give you another full day of practice recaps, all the highlights, everything that's happening here in Las Vegas at the 2022 Shrine Bowl. We'll see you guys then.